You're celebrating 25 years of Jagged Little Pill. And that's an album you called a permission giver record. What does that mean?
For me, it's just permission to be human, ma'am. For when I was a young female, I wasn't allowed to be sad or angry or afraid specifically. Those were really frowned upon. So of course, with music, it's all my subconscious and unconscious coming out when I write. So you can be assured that anger, sadness, and fear is going to come out, and I get to just be human. And I noticed on stage when I would tour, at first I was too intimidated to even lock eyes with anybody. It was terrifying. But after a few years of coaching, I'm able to lock eyes with people now. And then I noticed that as I'm physicalizing and dramatizing or moving this energy on stage, in some ways it's giving people permission to think about their own lives and their own examples of whatever it is, repressed rage, something that needs to be said, it can be said and you're safe, But I love that. I love that the records just kind of give you permission to be messy and human.
Another thing that happened for you, well, last year, you were honored by Billboard with an Icon Award, and you referenced your Canadianness a couple of times right off the top. And I want to know, how Canadian do you still feel? You've lived in LA for over 2 decades, over 25 years, but are you, do you still wear your Canadianness big time?
I think so. It depends who I'm around. Depends on how tired I am. You know how people who are from different countries, when we get tired, our accents come out, whatever that even means. We think everyone else has an accent, of course. But yeah, the Canadianness, when I say that, it's just, I bump into inanimate objects and I apologize to them. So it's just like, yeah, it's the one of the examples that Canadians use is that if I walk out of an elevator and bump into someone, the etiquette is that when an elevator opens, whoever was on the elevator gets the right of way. But if I walk off an elevator and bump into someone, I'm immediately apologizing. So I've had to work on that in therapy to not be sorry for living. But another thing about Canadians too is that we're slightly passive aggressive, so it makes for some really, really good songs. So we'll be friendly to a point, and then we snap.
I'm here at Budweiser Stage in Toronto, and this is a venue you were slated to play this summer on your tour with Liz Phair and Garbage. I wanted to know why you felt it was important to have a female-fronted lineup.
I mean, I didn't really think of it as we have to make sure. It was just their music and our 90s history together. And I remember having briefly met, I toured with Garbage, and then I briefly met Liz Phair, and I just really fell in love with her. So for me, this is the dream. And it can be somewhat isolating, to say the least, as someone in the public eye, female in what is still, let's be honest, a patriarchal context. It's really nice to be surrounded by sisters.
Well, Alanis, my last question for you as we celebrate 25 years of Jagged Little Pill, what would the Alanis of today say to the Alanis of 25 years ago?
I would want to find a bunch of really warm-hearted, sweet people and just put them around her. I just think she was a little alone and navigating a lot in a vacuum, in a way. Just, some of it for survival. I used to be still am the observer. My son, who's almost a year old, has this similar temperament where everything, it's kind of like the philosopher observer. So I would sit on benches and just watch people for hours. And then after Fame happened, everyone's eyeballs started turning this way, and I became the watched one, which is fine for when I'm on stage or performing or in that mode. But in general, I love kind of slightly disappearing and just watching life. So it shifted everything. I think for 2 years I looked down. It was my way of navigating Fame. But thankfully the whole white hot heat of it all chills for anybody. And that was very welcome for me.
Well, I really thank you so much for doing this. This has been, honestly, the thrill of a lifetime. So thank you.
Stay safe. Thanks.